When I first met Daniel, he didn't look like much. He was quiet, unassuming, the kind of man who blended into the background at a party. He worked as a high school math teacher, drove an older car, and rented a modest apartment. But what he lacked in flash, he made up for in warmth. He listened. Really listened. In a way most men never had. He remembered little details, like how I took my coffee or the story I once told him about my grandmother's necklace. Being with him felt calm, steady, almost safe. But at that time in my life, I wasn't looking for calm. I was 26, ambitious, scrolling through Instagram feeds filled with luxury trips, expensive dinners, designer bags. My friends were dating men who worked in finance, tech, or real estate. Guys who could drop thousands of dollars on a weekend getaway. Every time I looked at Daniel, sweet and thoughtful as he was, I wondered if I was settling. For a while, I tried to silence that voice. I told myself money didn't matter, that true love meant more than flashy gifts. But when I compared my life to my friends, the doubt grew louder. While they posted pictures from private rooftops and vacations in Cabo, Daniel and I were splitting the bill at mid-range restaurants. When I hinted at trips or expensive dinners, he'd smile apologetically and say, maybe someday. Then came Andrew. He was the complete opposite of Daniel. Tall, charming, magnetic. He worked in finance, drove a sleek black car, and lived in a condo that overlooked the city. We met at a networking event, and within an hour, he made me feel like I was the most captivating woman in the room. When he asked for my number, I hesitated. I was still with Daniel. But the thrill of Andrew's attention made my heart race in a way Daniel's quiet steadiness never had. The more Andrew pursued me, the more I questioned my relationship. Daniel loved me, but could he provide the life I dreamed of? Did I really want to spend my future counting pennies, waiting for someday? The answer I landed on was no. So I did what I now know was the cruelest thing. I ended things with Daniel, not because he did anything wrong, but because he didn't fit the fantasy I had built in my head. Daniel cried when I told him. He didn't beg or get angry, he just asked, "Is this really what you want?" I told him it was. He nodded, swallowed hard, and said, "Then I hope you find what you're looking for." And just like that, the kindest man I had ever known walked out of my life. For a while, it felt like I'd made the right choice. Andrew swept me into his world of luxury. Dinners at the best restaurants, surprise gifts, weekends in Miami. I posted photos in designer dresses, champagne in hand, and my friends showered me with envy. I felt like I'd leveled up, like I was finally living the life I deserved. Every time doubt crept in, I drowned it out with another shopping spree, another trip, another glittering night where the whole room seemed to orbit around Andrew and me. But the cracks started to show. Andrew was generous, but his generosity came with strings. He expected me to be available whenever he called, no matter what I had planned. If I questioned him about the women who texted late at night, he brushed me off with a laugh. "Don't be insecure," he'd say, while his phone buzzed face down on the table. And unlike Daniel, who listened to my every word, Andrew's attention was fleeting. He heard me when I was flattering him or looking beautiful on his arm, but not when I was scared, or sad, or just wanted comfort. I told myself it was worth it, that every relationship had its flaws. I was living in a luxury condo, traveling, wearing clothes I never thought I'd own. Surely this was better than the quiet nights on Daniel's couch. But the truth gnawed at me, I had traded love for lifestyle, and the lifestyle was starting to feel empty. The breaking point came when Andrew invited me to a gala. I spent days preparing. Hair, makeup, dress that cost more than a month of Daniel's rent. I thought it was my moment to shine. But at the event, Andrew introduced me to people as a friend and spent most of the night networking while I stood alone, clutching my drink. On the drive home, I finally asked, "What am I to you?" He glanced at me, shrugged, and said, "You're fun." Let's not overcomplicate things. Fun. That was all I was. Not a partner, not a love, not even a girlfriend. Just a placeholder in a world where everyone was replaceable. My stomach sank as I realized I wasn't special to him at all. I was decoration, something to show off until he found someone shinier. A month later, he proved it. He stopped returning my calls as often, canceled plans last minute, and eventually ghosted me altogether. One night, I saw a photo online. Andrew with another woman on his arm, smiling like she was the prize he'd been waiting for. And me? I was left with nothing. No Daniel, no Andrew, no love, no security. The condo wasn't mine, the trips were his, the gifts felt like shackles. My savings had dwindled because I had grown used to relying on Andrew's money. Now I was back in a tiny apartment, staring at bills I could barely pay, wondering how I had let it all slip away. I thought about calling Daniel. I rehearsed messages in my head, apologies that felt too little, too late. But every time, I stopped myself. What could I possibly say? Sorry, I threw away your love for a man who treated me like a toy? Daniel deserved better than to be my fallback after I discarded him. And even if I reached out, I knew in my bones he wouldn't take me back. He was too kind, too principled. He would have moved on to someone who saw his worth from the start. Now I'm 30, watching friends settle into marriages built on the kind of love I once had and threw away. They post photos of family vacations, messy kitchens with kids laughing, husbands who look at them with devotion in their eyes. And I scroll through, smiling outwardly, while inside, the regret eats me alive. Because the truth is, I had love. The real kind, the steady kind, the kind people spend their whole lives searching for. But I let it slip through my fingers because I thought handbags and vacations meant more. I chose money over love. And in the end, I lost both. Daniel won. He gets to love without resentment, to build a life with someone who won't see him as not enough. And me? I'm left with memories of dinners and dresses that mean nothing, and the bitter knowledge that I traded everything real for nothing at all.